So the City2Navigation project just recently finished on behalf of the BAST and the Federal Ministry of Transport in Germany. And in our project, we developed a reference architecture for linking public traffic management with private routing services. And as you all know, the starting point for our activities was that there is some kind of mismatch between public traffic management route recommendations and those of the private sector. As you see here, just one example from the city of Stuttgart, the public traffic management diverses the traffic to the right because there was an accident or any other event on the road ahead, while the private routing service still advises the road user to drive straight ahead. So these are situations where the traffic flow is not really efficient and optimized. And the reason for that, of course, is that the public traffic management has another role compared to the private sector, because the public traffic management optimizes the efficiency of the overall traffic in the city, while the private routing services, of course, is looking at the individual road user. And with City2Navigation, our aim is to bring both closer together and to provide a framework for a more collaborative approach. In the City2Navigation project, we thus developed an ITS reference architecture. We also looked into the DATEX II profiles and further developed them. We also developed specifications for a so-called strategy editor. I will tell you in a minute what is this about. We also developed cooperation and implementation concepts and a comprehensive toolbox for later implementation projects. And the aim is thus to develop a German-wide City2Navigation service who links both dimensions, the public and the private sectors. So we did no implementation actually, but we tried to standardize the service. As you know, in Germany and probably also in other countries in Europe, many cities already work on publishing their traffic management strategies. But we felt that it's necessary also to develop some kind of standardization which helps the cities in this objective. What is our City2Navigation service all about? Here you see a diagram, and starting in the upper left corner, you see a public authority. This could be a city administration. It could also be a country or a federal agency responsible for traffic management. So this agency wants to publish traffic management strategies via the MDM, the German National Access Point. Of course, these messages will be published using DATEX II. And from the MDM, the routing services can then retrieve all traffic management strategies of all cities and can implement them in their individual route recommendations. So this is what we call the forward channel. But we also foresee what we call a feedback channel. So, namely, giving the end users and also the routing services the ability to reflect or to respond to the traffic management strategies and to give their feedback. And again, this feedback will be provided via the MDM to the public authorities and also again in DATEX II format. And this will give the chance to the public sector to evaluate their strategies and in order to improve them for the future. So as you see here in the picture, you have an overall a circular information flow between the public side and the private side. And we have at two stages, we have, let's say, DATEX II used for the information flows. What is the typical content of a traffic management message? We are not only talking about alternative routes, but we are talking about all possible measures and actions and actuators that the public traffic management can use. And also, the information about the triggering event should be submitted in such a message, like whether it's an accident or roadworks or whatever triggered an event. But with the City2Navigation service, we also aim to have further information in the future, like the reasons for activating a certain traffic management strategy. This is important because sometimes you want like to reroute a road user because of a certain accident or a certain event or for a certain reason, and it's important to put this information forward to the road users. But we also have other type of information that we would like to publish, like the prioritization of a message, or the bindingness, the period of validity, or the activation status. Here we mean that the City2Navigation service will give the option to the public authorities to to publish pre-announcements. So if for instance there's an event the next day, you can already publish a traffic management pre-announcement the day before, telling the routing services that, okay, the next day, starting at noon at a specific time, we will activate a certain strategy. That way, the routing services can prepare in advance and know what is going on the next day or during the next hours. So this is what we mean with activation status and validity. Then, as you all know, currently the cities have only little flexibility in addressing really specific target groups or modes or trip purposes or vehicle types with their traffic management strategies. If you look at the dynamic roadside signs, they have provide only very little flexibility. But with the City2Navigation services, we hope that cities can really have defined very specific strategies only for certain vehicle types. Think of the discussion on diesel vehicles in the last years that we have, and so on. So this provides much more flexibility, not only to the cities or to the administrations, but also to the routing services who can then use these much more detailed and specific information for their routing. When it comes to DATEX, of course, we looked into the existing DATEX elements. As you see here, some of them we evaluated, all of them, whether it's possible to include all the required information. And for instance, we further developed the rerouting management enhanced model and call it now rerouting management enhanced 2. We also developed proposals, other types of extensions, for instance, regarding strategy type, prioritization of routes, public transport measures, or the capacity enhancing or capacity restricting measures. We also developed new profiles on conflict message, cancellation message, or the feedback channel, just to name a few. And for all of these extensions and new developments, of course, we developed all the necessary information that you need for standardizing it in DATEX. Like we developed a new namespace for conflict. Here is an example for the feedback channel, how it could be implemented, or the location reference for capacity enhancing message. So these are just examples of the work we did in enhancing the DATEX 2 profiles. In order to conclude, as I said at the beginning, City2Navigation just finishes, and our results are expected to be published soon online by the BAST. we consider the City2Navigation service as a complementing service to car-to-car and also car-to-X communication. The service will be important for municipalities or for public authorities to retain possibilities for future traffic management. In particular, if we think about autonomous vehicles in the cities and who is guiding these autonomous vehicles in the future. So it's important for municipalities to have these digital tools available. And thus we consider the City2Navigation as a building block for future digital traffic management. This is very brief. The main results we achieved in relation to the DATEX II profiles, but we similarly developed also recommendations for the strategy editor and also for the implementation. And of course, now in the next step, we hope that many cities and agencies in Germany will pick up these works and start implementation projects. And some of them, like Saturn, already kicked off, and we hope that these frameworks that we developed will be implemented soon in Germany. Thank you very much.